Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to jump back into inking some Mothman pages. So jump in with me, take a look at this inking, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. Going back in time a little bit, this is page 24. And I have not, as you can see, I have quite a few pages done. I still have to do page 14, that's up next. Then we're going to go page 27. I'm jumping all over the place, but hey, whatever, man. I am doing it however I want to do it. I'm going to jump in with my dry ink brush. Head over to the inks. I'm not sure what that was. Who cares? And we're going to do this page. So this is the last part of this page I really have to do, along with these bushes. And I'll get to the bushes at the end, and the trees as well, too, right? So I have to put some more. So I'm going to move my arm over here and just make my brush larger. So I'm going to make this. I'm going to make these beams double thick. The reason I'm doing that is to make them, stand out from the background. So that's nice and got some nice thickness to it there. And bring this over here this way. Trying to keep my hand in front of everyone. I had to buy one of those animator's gloves here soon because I'm going to save that till later. My hand keeps picking little things up and it's driving me nuts. And it also keeps dipping over, more so than anything else, dipping over to the eraser. And I'm like, hey, can we just stop that? That would be cool. All right. We have our nice little bungalow door we're working on here. I know this isn't the most exciting thing to go live with, but I needed to get this done. I've been avoiding it for way too long. And it's not even a difficult panel. I don't know why I've really been like, I didn't want to do it. But my brain has been like that. Whew. And we're already off to a great start. This feels awesome. And you can see why once I've done this double thick. Because I really wanted to make sure it's more of a tighter panel. I could have done the whole building in one small panel, but I really wanted it to be front of the building, TV, close in, and then we focus on the back of the building. Someone's kind of walking through. That's the point of the story here on this part. I really wanted to do some just some aspect to aspect storytelling, which means, if you've ever seen Ghost in the Shell, they do it really well with the city. The city's a character, which I love. It's alive, it's living. Yeah, it's super cool. And so everything that takes place there has character to it because the character is the city. And I kind of wanted to have the same thing here. Is just man, it's not quite a dilapidated bungalow or anything like that. But it is a place of it's not really well kept. And I'm going to put a lot of accents into this. And that's probably why I've been avoiding it. Because I'm oh man. Right now it looks very clean, very modern, it looks good. However, I want to have some cracks in there. I want to have some stuff that just doesn't make it look too appealing. Stuff like this. And I usually concentrate on the details afterwards. But I wanted to make some stress marks on the, How you see when you see one of these and it's like, oh man, it's kind of peeling, it's gross. No one's painted it in a while. Anything I can do to give it more texture and some more contour, I'm gonna do that. Because these are more rounded pieces. Yeah, looking good, looking good. I'm just gonna make a simple doorknob here, which is a circle, but also just want it to be like kind of rusted and crusty. And then there's another, it's a little bit more of a modern bolt there. And what I really want to do is give like the bottom of this just some peeling. Like the paint has come up from the bottom and it looks like crap. And there's some cracks in there. Yeah. Now it's starting to look more weathered, more worn in. Just more like, it's kind of grody, honestly. Move this. I'm gonna do the same thing here, is give it some like wear and tear. And this is really where I don't care if like any of the lines are like straight or anything like that. Some nice weathering. And get these windows drawn. I have a feeling these windows are going to be like the biggest pain in the butt. Not bad so far. Not bad. Just going to put some lines coming. What I'm going to do is give it a little shading underneath. And give it some lines coming down as well here. Here we go, and I'd be remiss if we didn't do the top as well. Here's the catch with digital art, is that, you know, when I pull out, like no one's gonna see all of that, right? So I want to make, I'm not gonna put too much into it, but I want to make it be enough of being like, now that door looks pretty well rotted. It's like it's gonna be needing to be replaced here pretty soon. And just putting a couple little flares on here to make it known that it's glass. So this is why I've been avoiding this page for so long, because I'm like, I'm gonna get caught up in these details, and these details are great. Like I dig how it's looking right now. I'm like, okay, man, we're looking pretty good so far. So we're gonna move on to the rest of the building here. Now that I feel good about our wonderful door here. Make this a little mailbox. Put a little shadow underneath it. Start up with an old school lamp, because that's all we got. There we go. Lighter the better. Yeah, I'm going to put a couple of lines right here. I love those old lamps. They're just like old lady lamps, right? But I just love drawing them. They're a gas. I'm also going to give some shade underneath here to give this some more depth. This house, I based it off of a house I grew up in that my grandparents owned. So it's from that same area of time. I just think about it as like, what if we put like really crappy siding on it, like made it out of wood looking, and slightly based it off of some old like army bungalows, because that's technically what this is. I just didn't want to. I don't want to give any plot points away. I don't draw them evenly. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, that's a little boring. I like there to be variety, and I don't like everything to look so perfect. This does take place during the daytime, so it's not going to have a whole lot of darkness to this panel. None of them really do have a whole lot of darkness to these panels. But this one's really, man, I'm really happy with this, how this is coming along. I'm usually, if you don't know, I'm usually pretty harsh on myself. And I was feeling the old imposter syndrome pretty hardcore today. That's why I decided to stream on a Monday. I usually do it on Sunday, but I was like, I just wanted to chill out yesterday. I'll just be honest with you. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, that won't matter at all. I apologize for the rant, but just one of those things where like art doesn't, man, like it doesn't have a schedule. Art, and as much as I try to stay on a Twitch schedule, or any kind of schedule for like YouTube, like it just does not. It doesn't conform. Art's a partner, and there's just times where it's like, look, you can't make this go like it's a tool or it's a machine. It's a partner, and you wanted your best to be out there, especially when you're streaming or putting this up on the internet for someone to watch and kind of walk all the way through. I really want to have like the best example of myself out there. So I always been like, look, I'm going to stream when it feels good. And right now, it feels pretty good. Although it is like super hot and I hate the summer. So we can talk about that. We're not going to talk about weather, I'm sorry. So as you can tell with like all this paneling, I'm not doing the sides of it yet because I want them, each one, to stick out past each other. I want it to look like it's like kind of like an old cabin, but not. Like there's a little bit more intention, like it's a little bit more modern than an old cabin, but it's still like, yeah, like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is right now. I still just want it to look like you're like, yeah, I'll live here if I have to. There we go. Um, it's like, do I have to stay here? It's not quite like the hey, I'll give you $1 million if you spend the night in this haunted bungalow. It's more like, well, this is what we can afford, kids. And I mean, you can still get cable TV, so like, it's the 1980s. Like, it's not the worst in the world, especially for an isolated moth. I can still enjoy my MTV. Okay, so the reason why I didn't want to do this is because, like I said, I want each one of them to like kind of have their own, its own line, its own weight, its own. Like I said, this was like something like where someone's dad was like, "Yeah, I did some improvements and I made this myself," and you're like, "Oh, wow, this is a great place to live here, Frank." So, as you can see, like, I could have easily have made this a straight line. Would have been way easier. But I like my buildings to have character. Like, no brick building has straight bricks, right? And no wooden house will have straight planks if it's built incorrectly, like this place really was, or built efficiently. Um, like it might have been like the military built this. I'm going to give these a little separation here with some black. Kind of want some of that to start coming up from underneath here as well, too. That's a cool detail. Hell yeah. I just think, like, man, like where I grew up with down south, you always had so much plant overgrowth because it's just hot and humid, but it's also cool. It's also quite a bit more unique than like the boring green lawns that you see everywhere. You might could tell I don't really care for suburbia all that much. So yeah, this is looking cool. I can see where I want a little bit more detail over here. These plants. This person clearly has never been to Home Depot. This is how my house would be like. Yeah, check out these bushes on the side. They look horrible. And I'm trying to decide if I want to put anything over here or let it breathe. Like letting this side and this side both breathe is kind of attracted to me. At the same time, I kind of want to put a little like tree line back there and be like, hey, there's stuff back here. It's like a true backyard. Um, but this page has no place to breathe. And I'm a little worried about that. And what I mean by that is just having like a place for your eyeballs to not be like, wow, look at all this stuff. Because the other next pages is like, because this is really the only part where it breathes right here. So it's a place where your eyeballs don't have to take in all the information in the world. However, like I don't feel like the blacks are as balanced from here. Like there's significant black here, there's significant black here. There's not much here. So I'm going to do a little, like, I'm going to do a little more there. I'm going to do a little more up top here. Just to give it a little bit more, to stand out as black a little bit more. I'm going to take off the background sketch. Not the, there we go. I'm also going to take off, yep, just all this background stuff. All the pencils, so you can see like what the page is going to be looking like. I'm really happy with this page. Yeah, it's really come to life, honestly. With that in mind, I think I'm going to do the tree line just right up here. And I basically made all the trees here, look very similar. Big tall trees. And what I'm going to try and do is just make these trees, the negative space between them come down, the blacks. Have a little space back there. Like he's kind of in a valley, but I really want this to like there to be white space right there. So you'd be like, okay, there's a little bit of like background depth back there. And I can put a little bit more of the mountains back there. There we go. Looking good here. So let me center this a little bit better for y'all. All right, so, man, I still have more to do with this, however. So, like I said, from the top, I always start from these edges so I don't go over what I've already done before. Getting some black inside there. Start from here, go that way. Start from here to go that way. And we'll do this for a couple of them. Like I said, I don't want to do a whole lot because I really like how clean it looks right now. And just as like it gets like darker and darker and darker as it goes, there's going to be more that I'm going to put in with this place right here. However, like, man, I don't know, like I just was like not feeling the vibe on this for a while until I started inking it out today and decided to go live with it. Yeah, that's the funny part of art, you know? Put a little shadow here as well. And one day I'll get a more stable desk for it to not be all flippy floppy. But I think I'm just going to do those top ones. And just do a couple of like, kind of let this space speak for itself. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to undo that one. There we go. So I'm going to add in, you know, some cracks here and there. Like I could go crazy and like add like the entirety of the detail of wood, but it already looks like that. So I'm just going to try it on the sides and let this thing, let's go further. Yeah, okay, that looks cool. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna bring up a couple of quick lines just to frame the piece. And I think I might do some of that over here as well. Little details can never like hurt. It's just a time you have to look at it with a balance and be like, does this hurt the composition of the piece? Like, where's my reader's eye going? And one thing that gets me as I'm looking at it from afar right now is this area right over here. So I'm going to add just a little bit more so we know, like, oh, okay, it's a window. Yeah. Man, this is looking cool. So I'm going to bring back my background just to kind of see where my brushes were. Not brushes, branches and bushes. There we go. Brushes, Jesus. So I'm gonna start giving these trees a little bit of life, and I already don't like it. Yeah, it's tough because it's like I don't want this to be like video game bushes, so I got to get some reference to how like bushes work and kind of go from there. They, you know, when I've drawn them before, I've drawn them like this with these big bushy triangles, basically. Don't know if I like it. So, let's do something crazy. And let's see. Bushes. Hopefully you don't come up with beans. Images. Yeah, see, this is kind of what I'm looking for right here. Or some of these. So what I'm going to do, drag Procreate back over, make this small and look at keep my reference there. But if you look at like this picture, like these all point upwards. So I'm going to use those as my bushes. Now what I have to be careful of are tangents. And that means like I don't want any of these bushes to look like they're coming out of Ted's head, because that would be tragic and weird. So I got to stay away from his head while also trying to make these bushes just look good. And they're a little confusing visually. So I don't know if I'm going to go with that style. I think I'm going to change it up. And this is the great thing about drawing digitally, though. Like, I know I was talking about, like, oh, you can get stuck in this and that. But I was just like, yeah, I don't have to, like, worry about all this, like, erasing. I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. I can just have a MacGuffin and do it over. And that's not cheating. That is making my life easier. And if you've watched any of my other streams, you'll know I am all here for that. Dun, 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 dun. So the thing with these bushes is that they still point up. What I'm really worried about is this area right here. So I'm going to make tiny triangles, which is going to be a lot of work. But that's okay. Because if comics were not a lot of work, I don't know if I would do them. And that's already, like, to me, that already feels better. I'm going to start from the bottom over here. And I'm not going to make it like Captain America's armor, where each individual chainmail link is drawn above the other one. Like, that's not how nature works. Like, this is, yes, what I'm using for reference is very manicured. At the same time, I don't think it vibes for me. I'm going to keep this away from his head so there's space to breathe around him. Yeah, and this is finally coming out looking good, and that's, yeah, it's simple, but I kind of dig it. There we go. I'm also going to start putting some more, there's not as much detail in this as I would like. And that's the cool part about, like, once you start paying attention to specific details, other ones start to come out and you're like, yeah, I don't like that, or I do like that, or the biggest cool best part of it is that it gets you thinking like, hey, I should use this space like I use these other spaces and have like repeating line quality, repeating patterns. Like with these trees down here. Like this is going into, like, for me, like super detailed territory. And it's not something I usually do. At the same time, I want to put a little space between this back part and these trees. Because I've already put some white space here, but I'm repeating this down here with just lighter lines. And that's giving it some nice space. And sometimes you really just have to experiment with the page to get that right space for the details. Like, oh, okay, he's light up top and dark on the bottom, and that creates a nice little flip-flop right over here. So, let's see what this page looks like without all that stuff. And I'm also noticing there's a blank spot down there. So, I'm just going to start filling it with some grass. I might give this some black here. Give him a little more. Yeah, there we go. All right. Let me flip this around so you can see the page a little bit better. There we go. Top to bottom, all done. Well, thanks for hanging out and watching this with me, friends. Up next will be page 14. And like I said before, it's a little bit of a travel back in time. This is from when, they go see basically a giant yokai in a Japanese forest. And that's where this story gets kind of crazy. But I wanted to put a page in between this one and this one, to give us a little bit more story breathability. So, look forward to that on the next stream. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and all that good stuff too. I'd love to have more of you along with us. Thank you so much.